Good morning on Friday, the 27th of December 2024. It's 8 a.m. in the Gambia and therefore Coffee Time on West Coast Radio with me, Peter Gomez. And Coffee Time is brought to you in association with the USAP, EEC and Gov't Trading, Easy Financial Services, Global Properties, Wave, Bloombank Africa, TAF Africa Global, the Gambia Experience and Bakadagi Hotel.
Did you know service plots are now available at Baki? Welcome to Baki, TAF City's fourth residential estate.
Yes, service plots available at Baki with 3 years interest-free payment plan with a minimum deposit of only $94,000, and it will come with fence plot, water reticulation, electricity, solar street lights, and bituminized internal roads. Are you ready to build your dream home for yourself?
Call us now.
We begin our press review with the Point newspaper. Government disagrees with Afrobarometer survey. Alleged cannabis farm owner in Fonyi faces court. Barrow hosts first presidential media dinner tomorrow. Yona Group largest rice consignment arrives. Police urge victims of Karanta to report to Kairaba police station. And Barrow receives updates on performance of SOEs. On to Foraya's front page. Federation coordinator says Q money is the safest process to pay farmers. Legislators call on government to support farmers to overcome poor harvest. PPP elects new Secretary General and party leader. Lawmakers recommend creation of standardized framework for NHIS. President Barrow receives updates on the performance of SOEs. GRA receives prestigious award as most performing institution, and Foraya runs a corrigendum titled UTG Faculty and Staff Suspend Strike. The Voice hasn't arrived here at West Coast Radio, so we move on to the Standards Friday front cover. Government rejects Afrobarometer findings. PPP elects new leader. GRA named best performing Gambian institution. $2.8 billion spent on vehicles, maintenance and fuel in 5 years. Man who vows expose on how NPP rigged 2021 election arrested. President receives $170 million food and medical aid from China. Minister agrees there is room for improvement in EU-Gambia fisheries deal. And Yona Group secures 14,000 tons of rice to boost quality and affordability ahead of Ramadan. And that was your first look at the front pages of Friday's newspapers, the ones arriving here, that is, which are the Standard, Foraya, and The Point.
Looking for an establishment where value for money and unrivaled services with admirable turnaround time is guaranteed? The Port of Banjul is the perfect place for you. A vital gateway for trade offering connections to numerous global destinations. With improved infrastructure combined with a flexible tariff, the Port of Banjul remains a vital node in maritime trade. Along with its dedicated workforce, efficient service delivery, technology-inspired innovation and an impressive record in handling all types of cargo, the Port of Banjul is also widely acknowledged as one of the safest ports on the continent with no history of piracy. As a major player in the region's maritime trade, accounting for 90% of all imports and exports, we are more than just a transit point, but a vital cog in the global trade sphere. Come experience a hassle-free fast customs clearance inspired by our simplified trade documentation procedures, safe and efficient cargo and vessel handling. The Port of Banjul offers prompt, reliable and value-for-money service, and customer satisfaction is guaranteed.
It's 8:45 in the morning here in the Gambia on Friday, the 27th of December 2024. Our forest cover is fast dwindling as encroachments on our wetlands, beaches, forests, and threats to the environment are at an unprecedented level, writes Madi Jobate, in reaction to the allocation of part of the Salagi Forest Park established 70 years ago to a local businessman. Madi goes on to describe the decision of the Department of Forestry to allocate a portion of the park to Gov't Global Company for basalt storage as both irresponsible and unjustified. Well, the Sukuta Village Development Committee, an important partner in the implementation of government projects in the village, was apparently not consulted, and members are opposed to the idea of using Salagi Forest for purposes other than nature conservation. I am joined this morning by two members of the VDC, and the policy here is to each introduce yourself. Let's start with man on my right.
Thank you very much, Uncle Peter. I am Matar Cham, commonly known as Pamatar. I'm a member of the Sukuta Village Development Committee and also a member of the Task Force on Salagi Forest.
Okay.
Thank you, and then thank you to your listeners as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And of course, you have a special connection with West Coast Radio and Jibril Jassi in particular. Not only do you people, share the same village, but professionally,
I know this time of the year that he's not very keen on seeing me.
Yes.
because
thanks for being a watchdog.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. You're not alone on the program. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning, viewers. My name is Mohamed Haidara. I am the current Secretary General of the Gambia Environmental Alliance. We are a pressure group that hold government or all regulatory body that are working towards environmental conservation, and to make sure we work with relevant communities that are severely affected to make sure that we could come to a constructive resolution. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. You're welcome. Pilots, what's at issue here? How did we get here?
Very interesting question. We have to be very precise here. I have to first give a short genesis of what transpired.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
In 2021, we had a project at the Sukuta Village Forest where NAWEC was allocated a portion of the forest for the OMVG project. Mm-hmm. This happened without any consultation whatsoever with the community, and we were outraged by this. The VDC wrote to the Ministry of Environment at the time. I think Honorable Lamin Dibo was there. We also wrote to the the National Assembly Select Committee on Environment to, of course, express our outrage and also engage them so we can have a solution to this problem. It went on very well. At some point, we had a very, very fruitful engagement with the Minister of Energy and Petroleum, the Minister of MECNA. Also present were, in fact, the ministers themselves at that meeting, including their permanent secretaries. The directors were also present. This meeting was held at the conference of the Gambia National Petroleum building at Bruceby. At the time was...
Petroleum House.
Petroleum House, exactly. At the time was housing the Minister of Petroleum. I'm not sure whether it's still housing that ministry.
It still does.
Exactly. So we had to have a compromise because it was put to us as to how this is a national interest, how this is of national importance. They also acknowledged the fact that they did not consult the community, which was an oversight. But because of the fact that it's a national interest, we had to agree on something. That one, this project can go on because we are all grappling with electricity issue, and anything that is coming to alleviate that problem, of course, we cannot be serving as an obstacle to that. But we agreed, and this is in writing, that moving forward, the entire perimeter of the forest will be fenced to make sure it's protected to avoid any further encroachment. It was also agreed at the
government agreed to this.
In fact, yes, we have minutes to this effect.
I think you should publish them.
Yes, we have.
Because sometimes when you deal with this government, they tell you show the evidence.
Yes.
You have the evidence.
We have.
Make it available.
Yes, I'm on air here.
Yes.
I mean, it's like this is a public.
No, it's your word against theirs. But when you publish what is in black and white,
yeah, we have it. In fact, let me not digress. But then. During our recent meeting, I had to present copies of this document, the minutes, to the minister, and she was surprised that such a document existed. But we leave that for another time. So the other part of the agreement was that they're going to facilitate co-management of the forest between the Department of Forestry and the community of Sukuta. This is all to make sure that what happened would not replicate itself, would not happen again. But again, Uncle Peter, this is the thing. As a community, we are concerned because out of the blue, in October this year, we saw clandestinely, I have to say it that way, because a portion was allocated to an individual, let me say a private entity, a private profit-making entity, without any consultation whatsoever with the community. And they started it in front in such a way that you would not even realize or notice that any such thing is happening. It was only when they were closer to the road that the passers-by saw that something was going on. And then people from the community had to rush there to find out what is happening. And then we realized at the time that a portion has also been allocated. But then, as law-abiding citizens, like I said, I'm a member of the Village Development Committee, an executive member for that matter. We came up with a press statement. I think this was on the let me not guess on that, but we came up with a press statement, yes, to express our outrage and to express our frustration and the fact that you can come up with something like this without any communication, without any consultation, or even information at least, is something that we could not perceive. So we released that press statement. We also wrote to the Minister of Environment, Climate Change, and Natural Resources. Yes. We wrote to the National Assembly Select Committee on Environment to engage them, to understand what is really happening, because this is not normal. In as much as you have this project that is considered to be of national interest, I think it's important that the community is involved. Yeah. And the fact that we have had agreement in the past, those agreements cannot just be sidelined, cannot just be overlooked as if nothing had ever happened. So,
did you get any response from the National Assembly Select Committee?
Not yet. But after my first interview with you, yes, we received a message from MECNA that they're inviting us to a meeting. We went to the meeting, but I have to say it point blank here. I mean, that meeting was not a consultation or anything. The minister was very frank in her deliberations that this is a decision that has been taken by the cabinet, according to her, and the cabinet has no intention whatsoever to reverse this decision.
So it was a fait accompli.
Exactly. So it was like, in fact, as we speak, we have a consignment that is already coming, consignment of the budget that's already on the way. But this is the problem. So I personally was emotional, and we put it to her that we don't think this is right, because in the past we have had an engagement with your ministry. Your permanent secretary was represented at that meeting. In fact, your minister at some point was there, and this is what we have. I presented to her the document. I said, this is what we agreed. See, as the now permanent secretary, I think Mr. Jawara, I'm not aware of this. Mr. Jawara said, yes, this really happened. So we're dealing with a ministry. We're not just dealing with some informal sector. If something like this happened, I think the record should be there, yes, for you to make reference
Absolutely.
To if something like this comes up. Yeah. But yeah,
well, the minister who was there before her is not dead. He's alive.
Yeah, Mr. Diba, I think
he's sitting in New York. I mean, you could contact him.
Yeah, so
he's still alive. Bring him back into the conversation.
So exactly.
But when they say temporary, when they use the word temporary, this has been allocated temporarily to Gov't Global.
And that is even
what have they specified?
That is even
for
more,
how long he can use.
That is even more baffling, because the thing is, when we asked this question at that session, and what we were told is that you have to understand when we say temporarily. In fact, the PS gave the example of you can be renting in a particular house, and then you can stay there for
forever.
10 years. Yes,
forever.
But still it's a temporary arrangement because it's not yours. So that goes to tell you what they are saying. So we don't think it's temporary here, because everything is shrouded in secrecy. If it is temporary, what is stopping you from presenting to us the document or whatever agreement you have to say, this is the temporary agreement we have with this particular entity? And again, Uncle Peter, the reason why we are very concerned, we're gravely concerned, and rightly so, because one, they are saying this is allocated to Gov't for the basal deposit, and also a portion is allocated to, I think, Tipa Garage, the Gambia Transport Union for Tipa Garage.
So it's not just Gov't we're dealing with.
And it's only when we got to the ministry that we were told that. And I have to say something here.
Go ahead.
We were shocked. The reason being, the same around 2021 or so, when the OIC projects were about to start, the road projects were about to start, we were approached as VDC by the then Permanent Secretary, Minister of Transport and Infrastructure. I think he's currently the Chief of Staff. A very gentleman.
What case is it?
A very gentleman.
And Minister.
A Minister
of the
for Presidential
Presidency.
Affairs.
Yes, exactly.
He engaged us, and this is what you expect from senior government officials. He called us and said, hey, we have a plan. We want to start the OIC projects, but the trucks, they are parked, their garage right now is a temporary garage where they are, around Brusubi turntable. We want to temporarily move them to somewhere around the forest so that the workflow can go on very well. So we're like, okay, Honorable, I think there is something, we have a problem here. He said, what's the problem? He said, because we were talking at the forest. We had that meeting at the forest. We said, according to NAWEC, they're having 13 boreholes in this forest. And these boreholes are supplying waters to most part of Greater Banjul area. And if you look right across the road, just on the opposite side of the forest, you see that's where you have NAWEC's water processing plant is there. We said, and what NAWEC told us, that's why I think we also have to engage NAWEC to understand why they shift, because according to the minister, NAWEC was, officers of NAWEC were involved in the technical assessment. So we told him that, according to them, such an activity is incompatible with their activities in here because of the significant risk it poses to the masses. And therefore, we don't think it's a good idea. So when he look around and say, okay, that's the water process, we say yes. He said, oh, no, I don't know that. Case closed. He never reached out to us. And then I think he really understood exactly what is at stake. Yes, it's true, we want to help these people, we want to lodge them somewhere, but then given what is happening here, we don't think it's compatible. And that was it. We expect the same thing from other members of the government. I mean, like we keep saying, we don't have any personal interest in this. This is a collective cause.
Absolutely. Before I ask about your next course of action, why are we so protective of the Salagi Forest Park? I mean, it's a vast area. They've just taken a slight portion. Government would argue to give to a company that would bring basalt. Everybody needs basalt when they build their homes. Tipagaras, we need to decongest that Sukuta intersection end.
Uncle Peter, thank you very much. I would also like to comment, Pamatar, he's definitely so resilient. So going to your question, how to call it, for the Gambia Environmental Alliance, we don't look at forest as just as a piece of land, because this is a natural, heritage for us, because this what is preserving us and protecting us, serving as a buffer, like our community, from the issue of climate change, because we are talking about climate change. Gambia is being recognized under the UNFCCC as one of the 100 most vulnerable countries. So that being said, we understand how important it is for us to conserve this, nature-based solution that we have. This is a natural, environment for us. So, and then, Uncle Peter, when we look at like the community themselves also, the livelihood of the community highly depend on this community forest. But it's a state forest. Salagi Forest is a state forest. We understood that. But like a state forest has to go in line with what our Forest Act has said. Okay. Because for us, when we look at the whole situation, we understood that, the right procedure, the due diligence was not followed. Because even in our Forest Act, like Section 82 clearly states that before you do any other activity that is not related to forest activity, a comprehensive environmental impact assessment needs to be done. And in that environmental impact assessment, there is a component of social engagement where you have to involve the community themselves, which has all been violated. So for us as a pressure group, we realize that things are not going the right way. And secondly, Gov't is a private company. This is not going to be like a national interest. It's not going to our coffers. It's not going to the national coffers. And when we talk about state resources, we are talking about everyone, having something at stake out of it. Yeah. So that's why it is so concerning to us that this issue, we need to follow it to the tip, and we're going to work hand in hand with the committee of Sukuta to make sure that, the right procedure has been followed.
Pamatar, I mean, when somebody is given a place, you suppose they would pay rent on the place. What arrangement exists between Gov't and is it the Department of Forestry, or is it MECNA? Who is Gov't dealing with?
So these are some of the things that makes it even more complicated, because the thing is, like you rightly mentioned, there's no transparency in this whole thing. Everything is shrouded in secrecy. We are told that the allocation is through a memorandum of understanding. I'm not really sure.
So he gets it for nothing. Do you know?
So we don't even know. We could not even be provided a copy of that understanding MOU, for example. So we have no idea. We're completely blind as far as this whole transaction is concerned. And then that is why we are worried, because who are we dealing with? We're dealing with Gov't. So let me just.
Are you dealing directly with Gov't?
Okay.
No. What's the arrangement when it comes to management of the Salagi Forest Park?
So it's a state forest park. Just like I said, that is why during that agreement we had, we were promised that they were going to facilitate co-management of the forest.
Okay.
That way, the community will be directly
So until
involved.
this co-management is facilitated and signed off on,
Yes.
I mean, government could do whatever they want with the forest.
Not necessarily.
Well,
They have to,
apparently that seems to be what is happening.
in compliance with existing laws.
You weren't consulted for NAWEC.
Yeah.
You weren't consulted for Gov't. Now we hear Tipagaras, trucks are coming in there.
So that's the thing. So when I said dealing with Gov't here, what I'm trying to talk about is activities that are associated with him, because that is why we have our counterparts here. Not for anything, but there were some concerns in the past as to their activities and how they negatively impacted the community, the environment.
Yes.
But the problem I have here is this: Gov't company, as rich as he is portrayed, or the company is portrayed on media at least, he can afford. This is a private company. I mean, he can afford to buy land anywhere to be able to carry out this particular business. And why the forest? I mean, why the government giving a part of the forest to a private business, to a private money-making business, profitable entity, on the guise that is of national interest? That is something else. And then the other thing is, the level of trust we are having, I'm sorry to say, but you know, when things like this happen, the trust you have in your government tend to get diluted, tend to erode over time.
Afrobarometer just proved that with their report.
And you know why we're saying this? Because, like I said, during that meeting, something shocking also came up. The minister said at some point, in fact, the ideas of building.
Which meeting? The one with Lamin Diba,
No,
or the one with
the one with the current minister.
Rohijon Manjang.
Yes, Honorable Rohijon Manjang. The ideas of building stores or structures in front of the forest was floated.
Oh.
And that tells you as to kind of discussions that are happening within the corridors. You get it. So
there could be more trouble ahead.
Most likely, and that is why the fact that the place is not fenced is even more troubling, because probably it's a deliberate act. And another thing that also came out during that meeting, the Honorable Minister inferred, and let me say it that way, that the funds that were allocated for the fencing were fully paid. But then this money, or this project, for whatever reason, did not continue. In her words, she said, in fact, we have received an audit report. I mean, that's my area. I could deduce a lot from that.
Yes.
We have received an audit report about this project, and we are writing a cabinet paper to be submitted to cabinet for consideration. So for me, that probably is an indication of malfeasance in terms of the project fund handling.
Oh dear.
So this is the issue. Like, some of these things, I mean, I think sometimes our energy should be directed to some of these things. I mean, if a particular agreement has been made, or something is said about fencing the place, and it's now more than 1 year or so, it has not been completed, we should put in a lot of effort to make sure that is done. Whatever the cost is, let us take the decisive decisions and actions to make sure these things are done. But having to go in circles all the time, today is Monkey Park, tomorrow is Abuko, today is Sukuta. I mean, the Minister of Environment should not be into the business of these reservations. Their mandate is the opposite.
So what does the VDC plan to do about this Gov't problem?
Yeah, just like we said, we are very, very concerned as a community.
You've expressed that
yes.
Ages ago. But
we are law-abiding citizens.
Have you just accepted the decision of the ministry?
No way.
So
Emphatically no.
What do you plan to do about?
So we have tried to organize a press conference in collaboration with our partners, our stakeholders, and that was interrupted illegally, I would say it.
This was when you had the clash with the police.
Exactly,
on the
exactly.
location.
So that goes to tell you as to how things are perceived.
Are you going to try again?
Of course, we have in fact submitted our letter to the IG seeking a protest. We want to hold a peaceful protest, because you cannot just, like I said, this is not about Pamatari, it's not about you. We are saying this is a place that is supplying water to most part of Greater Banjul area, for example. We're grappling with water issues in this country. We're grappling with electricity issues in this country. Anything that may aggravate that is something that should be of concern to everybody or anybody.
Absolutely.
So that is our stance. We want to be very civil in this process, and we understand, like I told you the other time, we hope that the government will listen. And that's what the government do. And then we believe that they will listen eventually. But to say we're going to backtrack or we're going to go back on this issue, well, I don't foresee that for now.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. We've already eaten into someone else's time. Now, for the next long interview to be featured next week, I am due to talk to the Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Demba Sabali, in his capacity as Deputy Leader of the NPP. And for our next live guest on Coffee Time on Monday, that is set to be Esam Baifal, the former lead counsel in the TRRC proceedings, who dived headlong into politics as soon as the TRRC came to an end. And if you have any questions for either Dr. Demba Sabali and the NPP or Esam Baifal and Sobeya, send it to me at the usual number, 7711599 or 9910959 for SMS texts, or +220 9232 for WhatsApps. 8 minutes past 9 o'clock is the time. We have come to the end of today's edition of Coffee Time with Peter Gomez. That's the last program of the week as well. So a very nice weekend to you, and until I return on Monday with Esam Baifal, have a very good day.